everything's activated, everything's strong, stable.
You're a fortress. I wasn't expecting to hear that today.
Yeah. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coaches on Couches.
Bing slouches.
I am your host, Coach Dale Sanford.
I am the other coach, Coach Be Fun, Bryant Funston.
All right, guys, so today we are going to talk about certain things that we wish we knew prior to getting into endurance sports. But first,
got to do them.
Shout-outs.
It's actually my favorite time. I love the shout-outs.
You got to give props where props need to be given.
Exactly.
My first one, our boy Johnny Zinn.
There we go, Zinn.
I got a text yesterday, and
so he's actually Jay-Z, really.
He is Jay-Z.
Can we call him Jay-Z from here on out?
So I got a text yesterday, and he ran 50 minutes straight. So for him, that's a pretty solid thing. We've been really working on his mechanics, trying to change those. We're focusing on Gulf Coast half, but we're taking the time on the front end of this to really work on changing his mechanics. And he's been walk running for a long time, so we're trying to break that habit, change mechanics at the same time. So for him to run 50 minutes straight, it's a big deal. So
excellent.
That I sent him the old boom shakalaka in return. So
that's when you know you're doing good things. If you get a boom shakalaka from your coach, that's when you're doing good things.
That's a good one.
All right, my first one, Brian Eason, who we've had on the couch before.
Yes.
He's training for a small little event known as God Zone in New Zealand.
God Zone.
And it's a multi-day, it's like the world championship style of adventure racing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a seven-day event that it's going to be. But he did a training camp over in Arkansas, him and one of his team members. And they ended up putting in like 16 hours. Actually, no, more than that. Close to 20 hours on Friday, Saturday, Sunday of paddling, pack rafting, doing some bushwhacking, mountain biking, some big epic days. A couple of those days were over, they were like 8-hour days, and came out of it feeling strong. So he was pretty pumped where he's at.
Good.
And it was great to have that simulation because now we know a few of the things that we want to work on more. One of the big ones being spending more time wearing a pack and training with a pack on, because that change really makes a big difference.
Got to simulate the race. My next one is a new event. Got a shout out to a new event in the state of Tennessee, SwimRun Tennessee. So SwimRun, for those that don't know, is literally just swimming and running. So it's swimming from, basically you go from island to island most times, and then you trail run, and it's done with a partner most of the time. They're doing more solo divisions now, but you basically have a partner that you're tethered to with like a 10 meter tether or something like that, and you can swim with buoys, paddles, all that kind of stuff. You swim in your shoes so that you get out, quick transition from the water to. Anyways, now we're in Memphis. Now we're gonna have a swim run in Nashville, so it's gonna be at the Percy Priest Lake.
Oh, really? Cool.
So that'll be cool. That's late season, October 6th will be that new swim run race. So if you're in our area, in the Memphis area, and you've been thinking about trying out swim run, that's the closest one to us so far. So check it out. We cannot leave out our pride and joy, the Memphis and May Triathlon weekend. That is May 18th and 19th this year. It's now in its 37th year. One of the oldest triathlons in the country. So if you're considering a May race, really highly consider it, because if you're a competitive, especially if you're a competitive racer, we do an amateur challenge, and the amateur challenge is $5,000 split between male and female, paid 15 deep. Yeah. So it's the combined time between Saturday and Sunday. So you have to do the sprint race and the Olympic race, and the lowest combined times paid 15 deep. So.
Yeah, it's always a fun event.
It's always good to be able to come and like at least get your entry feedback. A lot of times, but I think the top, I want to say the top 3 or 4 end up with like $200 or more. So you'll get your entry fee plus some.
Plus some extra?
And there's always free beer afterwards.
For those that want to do a little post-race carb.
Yeah, carb loading.
Carb replenishing.
Yep.
Next one for me, Hart and David Collins.
Man.
They got up at 3 o'clock on Saturday because they both have families, had to be home early, but were needing a big training day. So yeah, they left the door at 3:30-ish and knocked out a 4-hour, pretty solid hard ride on the back end of a training block. So they're putting in work. When we start giving them props later in the year, that dedication, putting in those kind of efforts on a cold day. I mean, it wasn't warm at the start of that ride or at the end because it's still dark for them. But
absolutely.
So for people at home, that are time crunched, folks that are listening to this, sometimes it takes sacrifices that if you have goals that you're wanting to achieve. Yeah. And those guys are doing that. So props to you guys.
My last
These shout outs are getting long.
Yeah,
okay.
we're going long on the shout outs today.
I guess we'll go faster on our tips.
Is Rebekah Winter, Coach Chris's wife. She knocked out her first 50K.
It's a long ways.
Last weekend, Mountain Mist, 50K, Huntsville, Alabama.
That's a long ways.
Yeah, knocked it out.
The ultras.
Yeah, first ultra.
That's
and that one's got some good elevation too.
And that seems like it's probably a gateway, right? I mean, Rebekah's gone from
25 to 50. I know what she's thinking.
Once you do that first ultra, we know what the next step is, right?
I know what she's thinking.
Going long. All right, my last one, Leigh Ruston. She was a regular on the whole shout out list. Racing's underway now. Officially, racing is underway. She knocked out her first race last weekend. She raced with the Cat 3-4 men over at the Sumatanga. I believe that's how they pronounce it. Road race in Alabama. Yep. So she ended up second of the females. So on the podium, second spot.
Good start.
And hung with the guys for the first over 20 miles and set some new peak numbers. So good job, Leigh.
All right. That's a lot of shout outs.
That was a lot of shout outs.
All right, so we'll jump right into it. So these are things that we wish we knew when we were getting into either triathlon, cycling, or even running. Some of these are like really embarrassing things. Not really embarrassing. They don't get embarrassing. They're more embarrassing things. Some of them are just like, at this point, it's like, how could I not have known? But my first one is huge, and it would have saved me a trip to the ER, was the importance of electrolytes. I always knew, you always know that you have to drink, you have to hydrate.
Yep.
But there's a lot less. There was a lot less information out there on like electrolyte intake and how different everybody is, and how, so had I known that I needed personally a lot more electrolytes and known how to get sources get those electrolytes, I would have been in far fewer med tents, far fewer, spent less time in hospital, and felt a whole lot better after a bunch of races, because spent the first basically 3-4 years of racing just feeling like death after every race.
No, for sure. Yeah, same thing with me. I mean, I thought just chugging water or Gatorade were the two things that you did.
Right.
More water, the better. Then you're hydrated. I didn't realize there was an overhydration issue at play. Oddly enough, I've had some great races. This is before we dove into all the electrolyte stuff, but I had a few great races where I was eating sunflower seeds the whole trip down in the car, and suddenly was feeling terrific. Yep. And what do you know? Sunflower seeds have a ton of sodium.
Wish I had known.
There we go. All right, my first one. Pump up your tires to the appropriate tire pressure on a regular basis. I would encourage before each ride.
Pump once, good for months.
Dale was with the philosophy of pump once, good for months, and I think you flatted probably 6 straight times.
Yep, and I almost quit altogether.
Almost quit the sport. And the other one, this is like 1B, lube your chain and clean your drivetrain at least once a week.
Oh, yeah.
So pump up the tires, lube your bike.
I, even to this day, like every time we go on a group ride, there's somebody with like the little little Tweety Bird sounding bike because their chain.
I've got one of my athletes that I want to call out right now. But he's if he weren't such a busy dude, I would
Tweety Bird chain, man.
I would totally call him out right now.
If your chain sounds like a canary, lube it up.
Yeah, not only that, but you're going to get more miles out of your drivetrain.
Oh, yeah.
Those parts are expensive, so if you can keep those lubed up and not making all kinds of noises.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
My next one, the importance of transitions and quick transitions. Early on, I probably, I've always been competitive minded. I just grew up as an athlete, so I never really got into triathlon like just because I thought it'd be fun to finish them. Like I've always been like, I want to win. And so
Heck,
early
on,
on,
a board game, I want to win.
Yeah, exactly.
If I lose a board game.
So like when early on, I would like miss age group podiums and then even eventually some overall podiums because of just simply on transition time alone. So you're like diving into the post, you're diving into your times afterwards and you're checking everybody else's and you scooped up all that little piece of paper. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, I was faster there. And I was faster there. And they were maybe a little faster there, but I lost they were faster by like 15, 20 seconds in each transition. And I was like, 40 seconds there, that extra effort I put on the bike didn't mean anything because I blew so much time putting my shoes on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my first triathlon I did, I think you were like 2 minutes faster overall in the transitions. There is a skill to those things,
it is.
Turns out.
My biggest tip for quick transitions is in T2, when you're changing, the only thing you have to do in T2 is get your helmet off and put your shoes on. Everything else that you might need to take, belt, hat, glasses, grab it and go. You don't have to put that stuff on. You can put it on while you're running and making ground. So grab and go. Grab and go.
Excellent. Mine. Bib shorts are greater than regular cycling shorts. I went probably, it was a while before I ever tried the bib shorts.
Yeah.
It was a game changer, man.
It was.
Not having the...
I did that, yeah. Same here.
The gut getting squeezed by the top there. Man, bib shorts are comfy.
And then even like after you have a pair of bib shorts have a pair of shorts for a little while and they start to stretch out, like a bib short that does the same thing will stay in place better because of the bib part of it.
And a big part of that as well, obviously with the bib, get a good pair too, and with a good chamois.
Yes.
And a thick chamois is not necessarily a more comfortable chamois.
No.
A lot of times it could be the other way. But one thing I didn't know is that the bib's actually going to cover your whole back. Sometimes you get into that more aero position and you got the jersey that comes up.
Oh, yeah.
So I should add sunscreen to this. But
yes.
I guarantee you everyone out there who's wearing cycling shorts and a jersey has gotten that 2-inch burn mark on your low back. Not fun. Cured with bib shorts.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. There's number 2.
I think my number 3 is right in the same line there. Do not, I don't care how good your bike fit is, do not do an Ironman on a fleece chamois. I did.
Tell us how you know, Dale.
I did Ironman Lake Placid it was like one of the early tri kits that I had, and I just ordered it through Champion Systems because we were doing it.
Champsys, man.
We were doing it, and they let me slide it in on a team order.
Okay.
And but they didn't have any options for chamois, and they're like, "This is what it is," and I got it, and it was literally like if I had snipped a piece of a fleece blanket and sewn it into the shorts, that was it. And I did some longer rides on it and it was okay, but 112 miles with some climbs and...
That'll make you want to go faster the last 30, that's for sure.
I didn't even notice it until I was done. And then when I got back to the hotel and jumped in the shower...
We don't need too many details, Dale. We don't need too many details here.
It was fire down below. I screamed so loud. I'm sure they thought there was a 12-year-old girl getting beaten in that hotel.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was bad. So there are a lot of thin chamois that do wonders. But a little piece of felt that is not sewn in very well and moves around in there.
That's the big thing.
Like, not good. There's no amount of lube.
When there's sliding happening, that's a problem.
Yeah, there's no amount of lube that's going to solve that problem.
That is true. And folks that are listening in on Facebook, feel free to comment with your own personal stories and suggestions.
Yeah, John says, John Zinn, who was on the early shoutouts, JZ, says, one-piece tri-suit, same thing as bib shorts. And I attest to that. Mm-hmm. I did Ironman Florida in a one-piece and a tri-suit and had zero issues. No movement. Bam. Stays in place.
Stays in place. All right.
Huge.
Here's one that's not equipment related. This one is being smart can be a lot more beneficial than being strong.
Oh, yeah.
So riding smart, riding efficient, following good wheels, staying downwind, being in a good draft, using your effort wisely, especially if you start getting into faster rides or into races. We always tell our athletes, race smart, then race hard.
Yeah.
It's not the person that's putting out the most power that necessarily wins. It's the person that's got the most energy to put out the power when they need to, and usually that's the back end of a race. So learn to race smart, learn to conserve, and then put your power to the test.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way too.
Yeah. I didn't realize you had to draft in a criterium.
Early.
I'm just going to hang off the back, and I'm just going to close it down and win at the end.
Yeah, early on, I tried to do my first crit by barely being in the group, and didn't go so well.
Yeah, Dale was pretty confident though, because you'd won your first.
I won my first two road races.
Yeah. By going off the front, like right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you did a reverse tactic.
I did it. Yeah.
Just
opposite.
Hang off the back. All right, Dale, you're up.
All right. So my next one is like learn to be. This is kind of a play off of the last episode we talked about. Short course is not a crime. This is like my big advice, and this is my hypocritical moment of the day. Learn to be fast and efficient before you go long. I know I preach short course and learn to be fast all the time, but I was one of those people who, when I first got into the sport, I did like a sprint and then I wanted to do a half iron and like skip the whole Olympic distance altogether.
Yeah.
And I churned it around, but like basically what happened to me when I did it is I did a half and then I did two fulls, and after that, like while I was doing fulls, it was just volume. Yeah. I had the worst cycling seasons I've ever had when I was doing long course, because there was no intensity built in, because I was new to it and all I could do was build volume.
Yep.
I didn't work on swim mechanics.
You could zone 3 like no one else though.
I could zone 3, but I didn't work on swim. So I like basically went 3 seasons without really even working on swim technique, because I was just volume. I got to be able to swim this far, like volume. So
the only concern is distance. It's not anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't take the time on the front end. So that's why I tell people now, take the time on the front end to learn to be efficient, swim, bike, run, whatever your sport is. And then also learn those skills that, develops long-standing speed. Like these are things that last longer than your fitness. Like these are what helps fitness come back faster. Like all these skills, they don't just go away. Like once you learn good mechanics, they're so easy to get back, sharpen up, and
maintain.
But if you do it on the front end, it's so much easier.
And if you go listen to Coaches on Couches number 24, we dive into that a lot.
I got back on it. I'm gonna get off. I'm off.
All right, my next one. Riding hard every single ride is not the best way to get fast. So when I first started riding, I had like a 1 hour, which I thought was a really long time. Yeah. Perspective, obviously now. But 1 hour, it was this out and back. And my goal, and I thought in my mind, I was just going to ride it faster every time. And then eventually, I was going to just push out the distance a little more. But my goal was to just try to ride that initial course faster. And then I'd do like, okay, I'm going to go out hard for 30 minutes. And then I'm just going to try to beat myself back my own time and try to get done in under an hour. And that wasn't real fun for one, but it's also not the best way to to build the fitness up. So balancing hard rides with lighter rides, with longer rides, is going to be a much better tactic for increasing speed.
So don't ride hard every single time?
Don't just ride hard every single time.
Really?
But what's funny is I think probably every new person to cycling, we coach a lot of people that's kind of what they've been doing. You go out, you're excited, you're jazzed up, and you want to ride fast. To get faster, you got to ride fast, kind of thing.
That's been the story I've heard over and over.
Don't fall victim to it.
Yeah. I've heard that same story over and over. Well, I've just been kind of riding. I have a good route that I ride, and I just keep trying to, ride it a little bit faster every time. And
the same goes for running. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff you're hearing can be substituted for running as well.
So yeah, you don't need to run or ride or even swim
exactly
hard every single time. My this one's kind of equipment specific too. I wish early on, I don't know how long it took me to figure it out, how to properly put on a wetsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I would just get it on as quick as I could, and I have to ask somebody to zip it, and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, did I buy too small of a size? Trying to just get that thing zipped up, but I had no idea I was actually putting it on incorrectly. And then when you do that, it restricts your movement quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So you'll end up you'll train up for a race and end up getting out of the water and your arms are smoked because you basically did resistance training while you were swimming. So with a wetsuit, you make sure you pull it up as high as you can, kind of in the crotchal region. Scientific.
Nether.
Yeah. Pull it up as high as you can first, and then when you get the arms on, you got to pull the arms up as high as they'll go, close to your neck, and try to get that back zipper as close as you possibly can get it before you actually zip it up. And then if it's in place right, there should be no restriction to your arm movement. I actually went to sleeveless wetsuits for a while because I thought I was too big. My chest was too big, shoulders
them alligator arms? We thought those gator arms were causing an issue?
I just thought it was an issue. So, but it really just came down to I just had no idea how to put a wetsuit on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And now you know.
And now I know. Knowing's half the battle.
It is. Executing the other half. Knowing is one, executing is another. All right, my next one. This sport is hard, and winning is tough. But don't be afraid to try new things. There's so many times that people are in this afraid to try anything because you're going to get dropped. I don't want to risk this because I might get dropped.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to get dropped. It's tough to win a race, but sometimes you got to throw it out there. I mean, you got to be willing to risk losing and getting dropped in order to actually have that chance at winning. And I know this is a much more race specific thing, but there's a lot of people that spend multiple seasons of never risking anything,
right,
hoping it's going to be a pack sprint at the end and that they can squeak out a top 10.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to risk it. I mean, get out there early, try to put yourself in breakaways, be the one initiating moves. Don't be the one closing moves down yourself. Don't do that one. But risk stuff, try new stuff, learn your strengths and weaknesses, learn what works and doesn't. And even if it doesn't work out, that's going to be more knowledge that you're going to have on, race situation stuff. Hey, that's worked last time. Maybe I'll try it again. But learn from and try new things.
I mean, the episode we had Leigh on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
That was her main thing that she put out there. And I think it's the first part of the show is sometimes you just can't be afraid to get dropped.
Exactly.
Because you'll never learn anything. You'll never learn your ceiling. You'll never learn, that you went at the wrong time. You'll never learn positioning if you're so afraid to get dropped. And it goes with running and triathlon as well. If you never test the ceiling, you never, you're always worried to go out with the lead group. You're always worried that you're going to push too hard because of this. You'll never learn anything.
Yep.
And you'll be so far behind. You just won't be where you could be.
Exactly.
Because you never went out there and put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm. You will greatly speed up your learning curve and ability by failing.
Yeah.
By risking things and failing.
Yeah. I mean, the fear of failure in general keeps people out of the sport. You know, the number one thing is like I'm afraid to like
drown.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid.
I guess the cost is a little bit greater in triathlon.
But really, like it does, like the fear of failure or the fear of appearing a failure holds people back every day. I mean, in
not
life
just
in general.
Sport. Yeah, I was going to say not just in sport, but in life, failure is a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that's just I forget who was it Edison maybe? Someone said that they haven't. It's not that they haven't learned to do something. It's just they've learned how not to do it thousands of times before they finally figure out how to do it.
Right.
So learning from your failures is a great opportunity to improve yourself.
Absolutely. So that kind of goes with my last big one here, which is nobody cares what your time is. Like realistically, like it doesn't matter if it's your first or, you know, like at the end of the day, nobody cares what your time is. People will look at your time and they'll, you know, especially if you're kind of one of the faster people out there, people will look at your time and compare themselves to you, but they're not going to go, you know, home thinking, oh, well, he could have gone faster or she could have gone faster. They're going to be thinking about themselves. The only person that cares about your time is you. So like, you know, don't let that and let the fear of somebody else or what other people think about your time hold you back from either doing the sport or trying new things in a race. Not necessarily trying like new nutrition or stuff like that. But like trying new tactics or new strategies in a race, and pushing yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who cares.
Well, and like it's about you becoming a better you. I mean, that's who you're in control over, is your own stuff.
Sure. I'm talking to myself here because I'm such a competitive person that I'm one of those people that I don't want to even go and race if I don't think I can do well. Yeah,
you have a chance
at a good result.
Yeah.
Like that, like I had to get that out of my head. Like it took a long time to really like talk myself out of that, because for a while I was so concerned like what other people, especially once we got into coaching, like, okay, I'm a coach. I have to be fast. I have to be competitive at every race I go to. So I really took a while to like convince myself that, dude, this is just fun. Like go out there and race hard, you know, put yourself into the Hurt Locker, and wherever you come out there. And, you know, now it's like you get done with the race, you chat with everybody who you raced, you know, close to, and you talk about times and that, and then it's over and you do it again. It's not like any race is going to like follow you to the next one. Like,
yeah, your pro contract deal is not stemming on the result of that race.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
No. Does your wife even care?
No. She probably cares the least.
I think the other one that cares are my kids. They're like, Dad, why didn't we get to stand on the box? Like, well,
Dad went too early.
Dad was testing new things out, and it didn't really work. All right, my next one. Lightweight comes at a cost and possible sacrifice, and this is both from an equipment and a body standpoint. So if you're wanting to shed weight off your bike or your equipment, the lighter you go, the higher you should expect to pay in price. But also, as a larger cyclist, the durability. Once you start getting lightweight, there's a sacrifice there.
Brian's broken a few things over years, including himself.
I've been known to break things, that's for sure. And I don't think I think last year was the first year I'd gone more than like 6 months without breaking spokes on a bike. So fewer spokes, lighter weight was always what I was like wanting to go towards. And then there was this realization that it's really tough to go fast when your wheel's so out of true from a broken spoke that then has you on the side of the road and calling your wife to pick you up.
It is hard.
So there's a cost there. Now, the same thing from a weight loss standpoint. You know, endurance athletes in general can be a little bit neurotic about...
Well, let's face it, a massive reason why most people get into endurance sports is to either lose weight or keep weight off. I mean, so
yeah, no, for sure. And like, so you always hear people talking about, I need to get down to race weight, or I'm trying to figure out where my race weight is. There's some people that take that to the extreme too much, and you end up losing power as a result. So
you lose weight, you lose muscle mass instead of leaning out.
Exactly. Which jumps into, I'm gonna do 2 in a row here, which kind of jumps into my next one. Strength training is cool.
It is cool. So
I came from basketball, lifted a lot of weights, got into my first hilly mountainous road race, got demolished. I was like, damn, I need to change my body type a little bit here because I'm a little too big to be competing. And I went the other way. Got away from strength training. If you're only a cyclist and you never put stress on your bones, you're gonna learn the hard way that smashing your body into pavement, which sometimes happens, can come at a big cost if those bones aren't strong.
It's true. Yeah. Same. I mean, I would say I'm sort of the same. I kept lifting, just like went lighter. I kept, like, early on, I continued to lift heavy like all the time. And I still, I still lift heavy, in the off season, to build the strength back up. And cycle in heavy lifting even during the season, especially when I feel like maybe muscles are not as active as they should be. You throw in some heavy lifting sessions in there even once a week, and you'd be surprised at what muscles kick in.
Oh, for sure.
When you're forcing them to lift a really like a high amount of weight with good form.
Yeah, so my last rack, that last rack I broke a lot of bones, which is why I'm touching on this. And I've been very diligent now after my body healed up about getting back to lifting heavier. And that first time back doing a barbell squat, it's like, it didn't feel heavy, but my legs just literally were not firing like they should. There was muscles that weren't actually contracting to the force they needed to, even though I wasn't loading up with a lot of weight. It was weight that used to be like warm-up weight. And it was just they weren't firing.
I will say, early on when I kept lifting heavy, and I lifted heavy through like even the first, even doing my first Ironman and stuff like that, like I could like take a beating. Like I could train, and I'm sure it had something to do with being in my 20s, but I could,
this little thing called youth now.
I could literally train and beat myself to death, and then like go and run, even running long, like when I hadn't run long, like before, or gone farther or harder than I've gone in the past. I recovered from it. Like it didn't beat me up as much. And I really attribute that to lifting heavy and just being like super friggin' durable.
For sure.
Because, you basically your body, like you're a fortress at that point when
you're a fortress.
So, little shout out to our friends at Lift Heavy Run Long.
Oh, for sure.
They, that's their big
they've been preaching
thing.
For a while,
And there are a lot of people out there that mix the two perfectly. And
I think there's also, you don't have to get big. You can lift heavy without getting big.
Absolutely.
So lifting weights doesn't mean you're gonna, unless you're like Dale, where Dale looks at a weight and he starts putting on muscle mass. But you can lift and strengthen without turning into the person you see on TV that's lifting fake weights.
By nature, lifting heavy, low rep, low rep, more sets isn't gonna really bulk you up. It's the, if you're talking about hypertrophy, you're talking about high rep sets to, even to failure, to increase that size of the muscle fiber. When you're lifting heavy, it's a lot of neuromuscular gain. The brain's telling the muscles to recruit more muscle fibers, so then we're able to lift more that way versus making the muscle fibers bigger.
And if anyone listening to this wants just some sample exercises or sample workout, shoot us a private message and we can hook you up and give you some pointers on that. Sweet.
You got anything else?
Was it your turn or my turn? I got one. I got a few more, but I don't want us to go too long here. I will go. I'm going to just pick it from my handy dandy note card here. I'm going to go with positive self-talk is huge. And this kind of goes into, I'll combine it with another one. Anytime other people are suffering, anytime you're suffering, tell yourself that there's a really good chance that everyone else is suffering too, and it's about to slow down, and all you got to do is make it 1 more minute. Tell yourself 1 more minute, stay positive, tell yourself you can do it. Psychologically, that helps you, and 9 times out of 10, it's true. Like, there's been a couple times where I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I finally throw in the towel, and literally, as I'm 50 meters off the back of the group, I see them sit up, and I'm like, oh crap, and then you start hoofing it, trying to catch up. By that point, they then take off again. But if you'd have stayed, you'd have gotten that recovery. You'd have been able to stay with. So dig deep, but stay positive. Don't tell yourself you can't do things. Tell yourself you can, and embrace the fact that times it's gonna suck, and that's when you're getting stronger and learning stuff about yourself.
That goes along a lot with running, and especially people who are even like maybe trying to break a walk run habit, and trying to push their running out farther. Just continuously telling yourself, keeping positive thoughts going, rolling through, pointers that are going to help you hold form, keep going, all that kind of thing, and not let the negative stuff jump in that's going to say, hey, man, you need to walk.
Oh, yeah.
Time to walk, man. Don't you know? It's 5 minutes. We got to walk. So keep those positive thoughts rolling in. And, man, the brain is just way too powerful thing to just let that stuff take over.
Oh, for sure. No, definitely. That's it. Else? That's it, man.
You got nothing else?
I mean, I do have one more.
Never mind.
But okay, chamois butter. Use chamois butter. Chamois butter's key, especially cold winter months.
To take advantage. We take for granted that one.
I know.
That one's like a go-to. But early on, if you don't know, get yourself some chamois butter.
My first experience with chamois butter was I got one of the packets that you get, like a race packet one. But I only got one for the race, and there was like 3 different stages. So I was like, I got to ration this out over 3 stages. It didn't work too well.
I wish I knew that you should shake hands with people before they put on their chamois butter.
The fist bump. Always fist bump at races. Never shake hands. Always straight to knucks.
And if you run into somebody in the trails and they're missing a sock, do not shake their hand.
Do not shake hands.
All right, that's all I got.
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening.
Give us your tips. What did we miss? I want to know what we missed.
Throw some tips in there.
So put them on. We'll be checking comments later.
Commenting.
And I'd be interested in hearing other people's experience, especially funny stories. Give us some funny stories.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you guys next week. Adios.
Peace.